There's something intriguing about people who say they don't watch television or movies. It's not just a preference, it's a choice that, for many, almost sounds like heresy these days. While most people spend hours immersed in series, news, or blockbusters, these individuals seem to live at a different pace, as if they have discovered a secret that the rest of the world has not yet realized. But what really hides behind this refusal? Is it just a matter of taste, or is there something deeper, a philosophy of life that challenges the way we consume entertainment and even how we relate to the world? Before any judgment, it's important to say, there's nothing wrong with not watching TV or movies. Not everyone needs external narratives to fill their time or their emotions. Some simply find other ways to entertain themselves, learn or relax. Perhaps they prefer the company of a book, the stillness of a walk, or the intensity of a face-to-face conversation. But, when this choice goes beyond simple preference and becomes an almost radical stance, things get interesting. Because, often, behind this apparent indifference to screens, there is a story worth telling. For some, rejection of television and cinema comes from disillusionment. Maybe they grew up watching shows that promised fun but delivered only repetition, clichés, or empty messages. Over time, the brain learns, if I don't expect anything, I won't be disappointed. And so, the habit of turning on the TV or opening a streaming service becomes something mechanical, meaningless, until one day it simply disappears. Others may have had more traumatic experiences, such as seeing news that made them anxious or movies that made them question their reality in uncomfortable ways. In this case, the screen becomes a mirror that reflects fear, and the solution is to simply turn it off. There are also those for whom television and cinema represent an invasion. These are people who deeply value their time and attention, and see ready-made narratives as a form of mental colonization. Why should I spend 2 hours watching the lives of fictional characters when I can live my own? They think. For them, passive entertainment is a distraction that steals their ability to create, reflect, or simply be present. It's no surprise that many who abandon screens end up taking up manual hobbies, such as cooking, painting, or playing an instrument. They exchange illusion for concreteness, fiction for real experience. But that's not all. This choice can reveal deep personality traits. Those who avoid TV and movies tend to be introverted, preferring the depth of dialogue or creative solitude over a ready-made plot. They are often born observers, people who like to analyze the world around them rather than absorb edited versions of reality. Some even develop a healthy distrust in relation to mediatized messages, questioning not only what they watch, but why they watch it. Who profits from my attention? What is this story trying to sell me? These are questions that many don't even ask themselves, but which, for them, are essential. However, there is a less noble side to this coin. In some cases, rejection of screens can hide emotional isolation. There are those who use this posture as armor, a way of protecting themselves not only from other people's narratives, but also from the emotions they awaken. After all, it's easier to say I don't like movies than to admit I'm afraid of what they might make me feel. For these people, the screen is not just a device, but a portal to memories, fears, or desires that they prefer to keep locked away. But, if we look at it from another angle, this refusal could be a form of cultural resistance. In a world where the algorithm decides what we watch, where platforms keep us locked in, dopamine oops, saying no is an act of rebellion. It's as if these people have realized that by turning off the TV, they regain control not just over their own time, but over their own minds. And in an age of constant distraction, this is revolutionary. Perhaps most fascinating is that, for many, this choice is not a renunciation, but a liberation. Without the influence of screens, they rediscover the pleasure of small things, the sound of rain, the smell of an old book, the texture of a cup of coffee between their hands. They learn to listen more, to observe better, to live more intensely. Instead of getting lost in other people's stories, they start writing their own. If you are one of these people, no, you are not boring, nor old-fashioned, nor out of touch with reality. Maybe I just understood that life doesn't need a script to be interesting. And that, sometimes, the best story is the one that has yet to be lived, not on the screen, but right here, in this very moment. Did you like this reflection? Comment here. Can you also live without TV or movies, or do you think they are essential? Share with anyone who needs to hear this. And, if you want more content that makes you think, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell. Until next time, and may your life be more fascinating than any movie. The Quiet Revolution, when life offline became an act of rebellion, and why it's just the beginning. There is a silent generation growing up in the shadows of screens, not by chance, but by choice. They are not disconnected, they are reconnecting in a way that the algorithm doesn't understand. While the world revolves around stories that last 24 hours, they invest in memories that last a lifetime. And the most ironic? Precisely because they are outside, they are more present than ever. The paradox of disconnection, why whoever leaves the network wins the world. Stop and think, when was the last time you went 10 minutes without checking your cell phone? Not because of a lack of signal, but because of pure immersion in something, a conversation, a sunset, the silence between one song and another. So it is. This rarity has become a revolutionary luxury. And those who dared to recover it discovered something surprising. Offline life is not a void, it's unexplored territory. Studies show that just 30 days without social media can reduce anxiety by 40%. Yes, your brain thanks you. Increase creativity by 60%, because boredom, after all, is the birthplace of great ideas. Improve relationships by 70%, when you look into the eyes, not the screen. But it's not about numbers. It's about reclaiming the right to lose yourself. Of not knowing what everyone is doing, but knowing exactly what you are feeling. From exchanging infinite scrolls for a book that marks your soul, an aimless walk, or even the healthy discomfort of spending time with yourself. What they don't tell you about those who live unplugged. Society calls it outdated. They call it free. It's not about rejecting technology, it's about using it as a tool, not an emotional crutch. It's not about being antisocial, it's about prioritizing connections that don't fit in a DM. It's not about nostalgia, it's about refusing to live an edited life. And here's the inconvenient truth, anyone who laughs at this choice is, deep down, envious. Because deep down, we all know that happiness is not a filter, nor is it a number of followers. It's the taste of a leisurely breakfast. It's the laugh that escapes without warning. It's the feeling of belonging to yourself before belonging to any platform. The side effect nobody expected. The most fascinating. Those who leave the networks don't disappear, they shine differently. They become the worthwhile storytellers. Those who, when they speak, people stop to listen, because they know it's not a repetition of something seen in the feed. They are those who create instead of consume, who live instead of performing. And, without meaning to, they became headlights. In a world where everyone screams for attention, they attract silence. Because, deep down, what is most missing is not content, it is meaning. What if the best version of you is on the other side of the screen? Here's a challenge. Try a day without posting anything. No story, no comment, no like. Just exist. Notice how the world doesn't stop spinning, and how you suddenly start spinning with it, not against it. You will notice that. Heavy checkmark your mind becomes clearer, less noise equals more space for what matters. Heavy checkmark your conversations get deeper, because you're actually listening. Heavy checkmark your creativity explodes, the brain loves to fill in gaps, and boredom is its best fuel. And, at the end of the day, you may discover that the life you were scrolling down was your own. Now tell me, have you ever tried a digital detox? What changed? Comment here, and if you know someone who needs this reminder, share. Because sometimes, the revolution begins when we switch off to really switch on. P.S. If this text made you rethink something, save it to your favorites and come back whenever the temptation to infinite scroll strikes. Real life is waiting for you. Globe showing Europe-Africa sparkles. And yes, the irony of saying this on a screen is not lost on me. But what if we use technology to free ourselves from it? Winking face. What if your soul is asking for digital silence that you can't hear? Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that all your social networks are gone. Not because of a bug, not because of a technological apocalypse, simply because you chose to delete them. No warning, no goodbye, no last perfect post to close with a flourish. What would be left? I'm not talking about the followers you'd lose, they're not yours, they never were. I'm talking about what you would recover. Heavy checkmark the right to be boring. Of watching the same film 3 times in a row, of spending 20 minutes staring at the wall, of having thoughts that are not suitable for any caption. Heavy checkmark the courage to not be interesting. In a world that rewards performance, the greatest act of rebellion is to exist without editing. Heavy checkmark the time you stole from yourself. Those 3 hours of scrolling a day aren't just a pastime, they're pieces of your life that you lent to algorithms. The great content mistake. We call it content as if it were something neutral, harmless. But content is the new sugar, addictive, inflammatory, and designed to leave you always wanting more even when you're already intoxicated. Think. Have you ever felt angry after 10 minutes on Twitter? That's no coincidence. It's design. Have you ever compared your life to a 15-second reel? Spoiler, that happy couple got into a big fight yesterday. Have you ever lost track of a deep thought because your cell phone vibrated? Your attention has been hijacked. Literally. Technology is not neutral. It was created to capture your attention, not to enrich your life. And the attention? It is the most valuable currency you have. The experiment that could change everything, yes, everything. Do this for just 7 days. 1. Disable all notifications, yes, even WhatsApp ones. 2. Delete social media apps from your cell phone, leave them only in the browser, with manual login. 3. Before opening any screen, ask, will this make me lighter or heavier? What you will discover. Your thoughts return. That inner voice that you drowned out with podcasts and stories starts to whisper again. And she has important things to say. Your conversations become 3D. Without the rush to register the moment, you live in the moment. The taste of the food improves. The laughs last longer. Do you remember who you were before the internet? That version of you that read books until late, that drew without posting, that had secrets of its own. The question that hurts, but needs to be asked. If you lost everything, followers, photos, messages, what would really disappear from your life? The answer will surprise you, almost nothing. Because the things that really matter are not stored in the clouds. They are in the memory of your grandmother telling stories. No smell of rain after a hot day. Don't. Feeling of finishing a book that changed you. In the silence you can finally hear when you turn off the world. The final paradox, and the way out. The irony. You are reading this on a screen. I wrote this on a screen. Technology is not the villain, the problem is the illusion that it is life. But what if we used the screen to free ourselves from it? Save this text and read it whenever you feel the infinite scroll itch. Try a day without posting anything, not even an unpretentious story. Swap 30 minutes of social media for 30 minutes of nothing. Just exist. You'll be surprised at what comes up. Now tell me, have you ever tried a radical digital detox? What changed? What's the first thing you would do if social media disappeared tomorrow? Share this text with anyone who needs this reminder. Because sometimes, the revolution begins when we stop documenting life and start living it. P.S. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you already knows that you need that break. Don't ignore it. Real life has no like, but it has something much better, meaning. Seedling. And yes, I know you'll be back in the feed in 5 minutes. But what if, this time, you waited 10, winking face? The great productivity mistake, and how to regain your humanity. Have you ever noticed how the word productive has become a more powerful compliment than kind or creative? At some point, we switched from the search for meaning to the obsession with performance. And the worst part, we don't even question it. You wake up and check your cell phone before kissing whoever is next to you. Your brain already calculates how many tasks it can squeeze in between coffee and a shower. Rest has become synonymous with scrolling your feed until your eyes burn. The trap. We think it's alive, but in reality it's just feeding a system that devours us. And the system is not capitalism, it is not technology, it is the illusion that to be human is to be a well-oiled machine. The myth of time well spent. Society has taught us that. Heavy checkmark filling the agenda equals success. Heavy checkmark sleeping less equals dedication. Heavy checkmark multitasking equals efficiency. But science says otherwise. The brain takes 23 minutes to refocus after an interruption, that's just a minute on Instagram. Sleeping 6 hours a night reduces your cognitive capacity to the equivalent of being drunk. Doing several things at the same time is not productivity, it is dividing your attention into crumbs, like trying to water 10 plants with a leaky glass of water. And the worst? We brag about it. I didn't have a weekend, I worked 14 hours a day, as if it were a trophy, not a cry for help. The rebellion of the 5 lost minutes. What if true productivity wasn't about doing more, but about feeling more? Try this today. 1. Stop in the middle of a task, yes, leave Excel open. Look out the window for 5 minutes. No guilt. No justification. 2. Write down one thing you did well, not at work, in life. It could be I made a delicious coffee or I listened to my daughter without looking at my cell phone. 3. Take a deep breath and ask, if I died tomorrow, would this, the task I'm doing, have mattered? What happens? Your brain resets. Those 5 minutes lost are actually gained in clarity. You remember that it exists outside of spreadsheets. That there is sun, that there is the smell of rain, that there are people who love you without knowing your position. Anxiety decreases, because you stop racing against a clock that has no end. The secret no one talks about: productivity is a luxury for those who already have time. The irony: those who talk most about productivity are those who have the least time to live. The executive who spends 80 hours in the office missed dinner with his children. The influencer who posts 5 stories a day no longer knows what silence is. The student who spends all night studying forgets what it's like to sleep without exam nightmares. The naked truth. Productivity is not about quantity. It's about quality of presence. A truly present hour is worth more than 10 hours of autopilot. The radical exercise, for those who have the courage. Fan. Do this once a week and watch your life change. 1. Block 1 hour of your day, yes, schedule it on Google Calendar as meeting me. 2. At this time, you cannot. To work. Check social networks. Think about what I should be doing. 3. You can. Sit on the floor and do nothing. Look at old photos on your cell phone, for real ones, not just quick scrolling. Handwrite a letter that you will never send. Exist without justification. What will happen? In the beginning, anxiety, I'm wasting time. After, relief, why don't I do this all the time? Finally, revelation, so this is living. The question that will awaken you. If you found out you only had 1 year to live, how many of these urgent tasks would still make sense? How many meetings would you cancel to have coffee with the one you love? How many 5 minutes on your cell phone would you exchange for a tight hug? The answer is your compass. The invitation: no, not a generic CTA. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or share. I'll ask something more difficult. Today, do something useless. Plant a seed, even if you don't know how to care for it. Call a friend just to say I was thinking about you, for no reason. Lie on the grass and count clouds, yes, like a child. Because life is not made of completed tasks, but of moments when we take a deep breath. And if you've come this far, it's because some part of you already knows this. Don't ignore it. And yes, I know you're going to close that tab and go back to work. But what if, this time, you waited just 10 more seconds and breathed, Herb. P.S. If this text bothered you, keep it. One day, when the rush gets tough, you'll need to remember that there was a moment when someone told you, stop. You're human, not a machine, Yellowheart.